Hey, we are back for another review of Ruthless. We're on season 5, episode 5, entitled The Measure. And so we are fresh off of Daikon's demotion. And we have a new Daikon in place, and his name is the artist formerly known as River, right? And so he's kind of basking in his promotion. And we see Obadiah show up to the Heist's trailer. He's been summoned, and the Heist tells him, like, hey, there is a rat amongst us, and we need to find it and exterminate it. Now, it is a euphemism for two things. They are looking for a actual rat that the kids are going to have to find, and we're going to be looking for a mole for whatever reason. We're looking for somebody that's betraying the Rakadushi. Okay, and Obadiah's like, hey, I'm preoccupied with the children. You know, I'm working with them, so I don't have time to be no rat catcher, blah, blah, blah. And the Heist is like, no, you gonna do it. And he's like, listen, like, the Heist, like, the kids are, they're pretty much ready and willing to wage war against the, you know, the evil government outside of the gate. We ready to, you know, to unalive ourselves about it. We ready to do whatever needs to be done. So I think that's what my focus needs to be. And, he was like, you know, that sounds, the Heist tells Obadiah, like, that sounds, that's cool and all. However, striking a target is easy, but striking a person is not so easy. So I can tell you that it is not that easy, and I don't think the kids are ready. And, you know, while he's demonstrating this, he has the sword to Obadiah to give him a visual representation of what you have to be willing to do for the Raku. He's like, okay, you might be right, but I'm not sure. And so that's over with, and River tells the Heist, like, hey, you know, we need to make people prove themselves. We need to, you know, try to weed out the rats, the proverbial rats that are in the camp, right? And he tells them, like, hey, we need to have a public trial. Like, we need to have a Salem witch hunt, so to speak, right? And so, you know, he's kind of feeling himself, and he's feeling his new power. But the issue with River and this newfound River/Daikon, the issue is going to be he's not going to be able to leverage this power the way he thinks he's leveraging it. And he's also kind of enjoying the fact that he has this power when he's been the, you know, the bottom B word for quite some, you know, he's been the whipping boy for the Heist for quite some time. So he's going a little crazy with this power, and it's going to backfire on him by the end of the episode. And of course, you know, we'll talk about it as we go through the episode. Okay, so Ruth sees River, and he goes by Daikon now. And he's kind of, like I said, flexing his new power. And he is mad at her that she hid that money from him and Joan, everything that happened at the end of last season. And so he tells her, like, hey, you know what, you are self-serving. You know, I don't really like you, girl, blase, blase, blah. But he's also, she tells him, listen, you being self-serving is also how you ended up in your position of power. So we got more in common than you think, my guy. So Ruth knows, like, she might be on the chopping block, because not only has she elevated to, like, the right hand of the Heist, so has River. And they got this little tension, and they got going back and forth that's spilling over from last season. And so River asked him, like, Ruth asked River, like, hey, we good? Like, you sure we good? And he gives her a yes. He tells her, you know, that he still has her and Jones's back or whatever. But, it wasn't a firm yes. I'm not really buying the yes, so to speak, and I'm not sure that he buys it, but we'll see. Anyway, we see Peter, and Peter tells him that, you know, he wants to apologize for how we treated him earlier, because, again, we know now River Daikon is in a position of power, so we all gotta play nice. And Peter also tells him, like, hey, sometimes power reveals who our true selves are, and that this may be really who River is and who he has become. And I'm willing to believe Peter in this aspect, just due to the fact that last episode where River kind of gave up on life. Like, he was literally begging Joan for the passcode because he felt like he owed it. It was, you know, time for him to be on top, and time for him to be great, and, you know, do all these things. And so now, you know, the turn of events just worked out in his favor. And so now your true self is going to come to the surface. Like people say, you know, money don't make people evil. Money makes you who you truly are. That also applies to positions and power and, you know, going unchecked and all that good stuff. So now we have to deal with that. Okay. Alex is helping Joan now that she's waking up, kind of giving her water, kind of nursing her back. And then Alex tells her that they just rang the bell for a trial out at the pavilion. And then she tells her, hey, don't worry about it. I got your back. We're good. I didn't tell anybody about, the plan that you and River had to escape. I got your back. And now Joan realizes that now she is some shit and she just got back from the brink of death. Like, it's just a lot. Okay. So moving right along, we have everybody at the trial. We all at the pavilion, and River is giving an award-winning performance. I'm not gonna lie. If you look at River, his paralegal, his legal training, whatever it is that you want to call it, criminal justice training is coming into fruition. And he's like badgering people like he's on the stand, like he is a prosecutor and he's trying to get these people the chair. Like, this is how he's kind of spitting and foaming at the mouth as he's badgering people with question after question after question. This is what we're going to see him, put on display at this trial. And I feel like the trial kind of got out of hand because he wanted to prove his loyalty to the highest by forcing other people to prove their loyalties. Correct me if I'm wrong, or let's talk about that interpretation in the comments. But we see this, but we see how it kind of gets out of hand, how he tries to protect Peter a little bit, how he tries to protect Joan a little bit, kind of how Ruth puts people in positions, but she's able to kind of worm her way from out under it, or not, get people in trouble while it looks like she's punishing them. River is trying to harness that power, but he ain't got the juice. He's no Ruth, so it's not going off how he thought. Either way, we're at the trial and he calls Anthony, old Daikon, up to bat. And he's stripped nude and his trial gets to begin. And River starts with questions, again, badgering with questions. Hey, were you the former commander of the soldiers? Well, duh, yes, I was. Do the soldiers follow the orders of the commander? Well, yes, of course. Were George and Lewis under your command? And Anthony Daikon realizes, hold on, no, because you're trying to trip me up. Well, duh, like that's what a prosecutor does, right? And he's like, now he's stammering and he's stumped at how to answer this question. And again, River's giving the best prosecutor type of tactics. He accuses Anthony of giving them the order to kidnap the highest. And he's like, I confess to the fact that I was scammed by George and Lewis. They had me going as well, but I can promise you with 100% certainty that I did not order the kidnapping of the highest, blase, blase, blah. And he told the highest, like, he has tears in his eyes, and we know that Anthony is, 100% sold out to this whole thing. And he's telling the highest, like, I will lay down my life for you to prove that, this is my loyalty. And River insists that he's punished with instruments of torture. So we see this wooden box full of torturous devices, whether that be a pitcher of holy water, or a nightstick that a cop has, a taser. We see all these different tools that the Raku is going to lead them to choose to exact their punishment, to prove what they can endure, to prove their loyalty to the highest and the Rakadushi. Okay. And so we're at the point where Anthony has to go through his punishment. And so River blindfolds him and makes him randomly choose his device of punishment from this wooden box. And it looks like it's a police baton. And so now we're going to see Daikon take his Anthony, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused with the Daikons, so I'm going to be jumping back in and out. In the meantime, we see Desiree. She's trying to get Andrew to talk, but he ain't budging. So we kind of go back and forth between badgering Andrew and exacting the punishment. We see Desiree's trying to get Andrew to talk, but he's not buying it. He's not going for it. He knows that the highest has too much reach and too much power. Remember, we got sheriffs, we got mob ties. Like, there's a lot that comes with the highest, right? But Desiree is like, well, so do I. I have reach and I have power. And in comes his son to see him. Remember, I don't know if he unalived his wife or Malcolm. Somebody unalived his wife. Remind me of who did in the comments. But his son is still alive, and he's here to see his dad. And then his son asked him, like, if he's a bad guy, which gives us the inclination that somebody kind of told him that Andrew is a bad guy. He's like, no. He's trying to assure his son, like, I always do the right thing. Dad always does the right thing. I'm a good guy. I'm a agent, blah, blah, blah. And He's trying to convince his son of it. And Desiree and Cal's like, yeah, so your dad's going to do the right thing. Right, Andrew? And he's like, yeah, I am. And they whisk his son away. So they give him only really seconds to interact with his child. And then they whisk him back. And we know that that's just a form of kind of mental torture. And most people would break and just do what they want for the sake of being able to see your child. Now, sir, we have evidence of you unaliving another FBI agent. So it's slim to none that you're actually going home scot-free. But whatever. Either way, they thought that that would break Andrew. And indeed, it does not. All right. So Anthony is being, you see Anthony being beaten. He is bloody, black and blue. All the Brackaducci people are kind of beating him over the head and, you know, torso everywhere else with these batons or whatever else they have in hand. And River doesn't think that they ain't doing a good enough job. He's like, no, make him pay, make him prove his loyalty. And Dagon is taking, I'm not gonna hold you, he taking them licks. He taking them on the chin, you know, just to prove his loyalty. And River's like, y'all not doing a good enough job. And he jumps in and, you know, starts to beat Anthony with a crowbar. And then the highest himself has to jump in and pull River off of him and tell him like, hey, you need to stop. Like, this is too much. He's proved his loyalty. He's endured. Let's move on. And so River's looking for the next victim because he's like, no, everybody got to prove themselves. And that those words are going to come back to haunt him. So now he's looking for a new person to put on trial. Like his trial is person after person after person. So now he's looking for his next victim. And the heist tells him that all of them will prove themselves today. And then the heist picks Peter. And he's like, nah. Peter's like, nah, G, I already proved myself. Like, I fought for you at the gate. You know, I unalived that person. And River is more than happy, quote unquote, more than happy to exact his revenge. We see Peter and he's crying. He's like, I've already proved myself. Like, he don't want to go through with this. And River is whispering to him, like on the slide, like, hey, just trust me, right? And so Peter picks a random item out of that bucket, and it's a picture of water, and this is to signify holy water, just so he could be baptized of his sins, right? And so River dunks his head into the water, and Heist kind of sees that he's taking it easy on Peter. And he's like, you know, River, why are you taking it easy on him? I know y'all got history. I don't know if he knows the full history, but he says, hey, I know y'all got history. Why are you taking it easy on him? Like, you trying to play me. And so the Heist takes Peter's head and he dunks him under the water, and he holds him down there for a good and long time until Peter passes out. He's like, okay, he's good to go. We don't see Peter move around anymore this episode, so either he went to be with the Ragu because he's earned his spot, or we'll see him, you know, be revived later and he's proven himself here on Earthside. Okay. Then he accuses River of trying to play him, and so this is where we see where River's plan backfires. Like, hey, you did too much. And you did not enough. You did not harness your power correctly, and now you on the chopping block. And then the Heist is like, no, you need to show your loyalty, like prove yourself, like you go choose something. He's like, nah, you know, I'm good or whatever, but I will offer you somebody that's gonna prove themselves. And then he offers up Joan. Mind you, you just told Ruth that you still have her and Joan's back, but he offers Joan up as the next person to be put on trial. Out of everybody you could have chose, you offered up Joan. Knowing that her body's just recovering from, you know, this near-death experience. This is what we now have to deal with. Moving right along. So Alex is trying to assure Joan, like, Rivers is your most trusted friend. He won't do that to you. Like, he's surely not going to put you on trial. Not knowing 2 seconds ago, he just called her name. But Joan is like, she ain't buying it. She was like, it's not that kind of relationship. He's not that loyal to me. And then she tells her she told River everything that she knows. And Alice thinks now she has some type of leverage over River, which is going to make her and Joan safe, which obviously not, girl. And so Joan knows that Alex is more than a damn fool at this point. And then Manny shows up and walks in because it's now time for Joan to head to trial. And both of them are kind of looking with their wigs snatched off like, you thought River could be trusted, and he put you directly into the line of fire. Even though he's going to attempt to... No, he doesn't really look out for Joan. He actually has a little thorn in his side about it. He didn't try to go easy on her like he did with Peter. Which also could be twofold because the block is hot, and the Heist already kind of caught you on that. So, yeah. Okay. When Manny brings her outside, Ruth apologizes to Joan, and then she runs off. Like, Ruth is so outdone with the situation. She's kind of falling apart. She's like, I'm so sorry, Joan. And she takes off. And then she goes to Callie to kind of get her, and I'm sure get the money that she's hidden. And she's trying to get out like right this second while everybody is distracted. And she tells her, listen, we're going to get this money and we're going to get out of here. And Ruby is what she wants to go by now. It's like, I ain't leaving. Like, I'm not budging. Like, I'm a child of the Raku. What are you talking about? Okay. So back at the pavilion, the heist is telling River, like, hey, prove your loyalty. Show me what your loyalty, show me where your loyalty lies. And he has no choice but to go through with his punishment on Joan. And he picks up a taser. And she does admit to attempting to escape. She does. After that first shock went through her body, she pretty much had no choice. She does admit to attempting to escape. And then he kind of holds it to her, like, shocking the hell out of her. And then he whispers, like, hey, I want the passcode. Like, you better give me the passcode. And she's not budging. She's like, boy, F you and the horse you rode in on. And so he's just sticking it to her over and over and over and over again. And after a while, she's not even responsive. Her body is just convulsing from the waves of being electrocuted, essentially. And then the heist kind of turns to gloat about it to Ruth and realizes that she's not where she's supposed to be. She's still back there talking to Ruby, trying to get her to go, trying to convince her that we need to get out of there. And so she's trying to leave right this second, and then Obadiah runs smack into them, and then she has to think on the fly. Even though Obadiah he's the only person that seems kind of rattles Ruth, and she couldn't come up with anything quick enough. But she claims that she needed to take all the children to the pavilion so that they could see how the Raku issues out justice firsthand. You know, I guess to kind of glean their loyalty. Sure. Even though we know that that's not the case. All right. Obadiah, the kids, and Ruth, they show up, and he tells the heist like he has found the rat, which is the literal rat that Alex's daughter was able to locate and unalive, right? And so the little girl presents it, and Ruth tells the heist the same thing she told Obadiah about the kids. I wanted them to be here so that they can see what this looks like, blah, 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 blah. But he looks like he kind of has his good side eye. Well, Obadiah has his good side eye on Ruth because he knows, like, I'm on to you. Like, I ain't as crazy as a lot of these other people in here. I know I see you for your works. Okay. Then River calls Alex up. Alex is now the next person up to trial. And so River calls Alex up to prove herself. And she's trying to plead her case to River. He ain't letting her get a word in edgewise. And then he accuses her, you know, out in front of everybody, like, hey, didn't you have plans to grab your daughter and leave? And then she tries to dime him out. She was like, well, didn't you and Joan try to get that money and go? And so they're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. However, River kind of has a leg up because he is kind of in the ear of the heist. And so the heist is kind of believing what River says as opposed to Alex. And so the heist wants her tongue after all of this. He's like, listen, say another word and I'm gonna chop your tongue out. Like, don't do that. And then so it seems as if River has been able to prove her to be the rat in the compound. At least one of the rats in the compound, even if that's not truly the case. And the heist wants Obadiah to prove that the kids are truly ready to go to war, to unalive people for the Raku, for the name of the Raku. And he tells Obadiah, since you got all the faith in the kids, I want you to give Alex's daughter the pium and let her demonstrate her loyalty, right? And the girl, like I said, the girl is Alex's daughter. And at that same moment, the journalist sees Manny put the gun on the table, put the pium on the table with a drone that they were able to fly in. Since they couldn't have their helicopter, they decided to fly a drone over because nobody's going to be paying attention. And in that moment, we see where Alex's daughter kind of reaches for the pium, but she's not quite ready. She doesn't do it without hesitation. She's kind of nervous about it. And Obadiah immediately apologizes and tells the heist, you know what? I apologize. They're not ready. But then he grabs the gun and he grabs the pium. I'm sorry, I don't want to get striked, you know, saying certain words. Either way, he grabs it and puts it to Alex's head, and he is ready to exact to prove his loyalty as well, because I'm sure he's pretty much as sold out, if not more sold out than Daikon and Elder Mother or some of the other people. It actually kind of seems like he has been there longer, because if you remember from last episode, the kids were sent to that hotel to get spun up, to get trained. Obadiah does not appear to be the old man that we heard about in the last episode, so he may well just be that guy's son or somebody that the Raku was raised up, that the Heist was raised up with, because they could be similar in age, but they have it looks like they have a lot of history. So either way, that has been season 5, episode 5. Looks like things are picking up. Like I said earlier, this trial has gotten away from River. He was trying to yield too much power too soon. Like, you just got your black uniform, you need to settle down. But it'll be interesting to see how this trial goes, who makes it out alive, and where alliances are going to shift to this time around. Either way, let me know what you think about the episode in the comments. Like, comment, share, subscribe, or whatever it is that you feel like doing, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.